So when did you start with the diaphragm calls?
That's a good question. I think about the same time, well, around here, Billy Cruz came out with one that had duct tape on it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever seen that one.
I don't remember that
No,
one,
okay.
but I remember the duct tape calls.
Yeah, and I started making them then, but I don't remember exactly the year. See, the first year, it was probably, I'm thinking 83, 84, somewhere in there. And then, of course, Carlton came out with some about the same time.
Right.
And he may have came out before I did, I don't know. But I just started, I started turkey hunting and learned to use the diaphragm call. And then, you start. Then I did my own designs. I took latex and frames and stuff and made my own systems.
So funny story. I remember, I don't know if I was even old enough to hunt or if I was just tagging along, but we could drive from our house out elk hunting, and we had a three-wheeler, an old Yamaha three-wheeler, and I was sitting on the three-wheeler in the back of the truck, and I'd just been to the sporting goods store that week and bought a Larry D. Jones diaphragm call, had it in my mouth on the three-wheeler, riding in the back to go hunting, and turned my head to look at something as I cow called, and it blew out of my mouth and went in the ditch, and I was too afraid to tell my dad I just lost the elk call I just got, so I didn't tell him to stop, and we went, and that was the worst elk hunt ever because I didn't have a call. I just had to walk along without a call in my mouth. So. But that had to have been 85, 86, somewhere in there. So.
Man, I would have said, "Hold it, Dad."
Yeah, exactly. But I knew he was on a mission to get out elk hunting,
yeah.
so stopping him because I'd let a reed blow out of my mouth.
And he didn't have a pocket full of them.
I didn't even ask. I didn't even tell him I'd lost it.
Was he that mean?
We went separate ways, and I just
see.
walked down the skid road by myself without a call, and it was...
Well, yeah, and I think calling elk there isn't anything any
There's
better.
nothing, no.
And it's like when I was up in Montana there, I mean, there was so many bulls bugling, just almost constant bugling. I just never really hunted in a situation. I've been in like parks and stuff where they do it like that, but it was just unbelievable. The amount of, and the variety of sounds and stuff,
Yeah.
It's just incredible.
That's neat. So back late 70s, you're calling. Is there anyone else out there calling elk?
Hardly anybody. I got onto it because Billy Cruz, I don't know if you ever heard Billy Cruz.
I've heard the name, I don't know.
Well, Billy was a local here, and he hunted the Minam, and he'd killed some pretty good, nice bulls. And he was older than I was. And I got talking to Billy about it, and he said, "Oh yeah, he was using this whistle, sounds like this." And said, "You ought to go back in there, So I was voice bugling back there, and there was hardly anybody, That's why people are starting to go like, "What are you doing here, Larry?" And when I came out with this call, this might be the very call, in fact. The first was 1980 when I used this call, and I called in 13 bulls, 30 yards and under, in 11 days. And for me, that was pretty darn good.
Yeah.
And about the fifth bull I called in, I was in John Day with Andy Day, he was a young friend of mine at that point. He was an archer. And I stopped at his house to get a shower. Okay. And he said, "What are you going to do tomorrow?" I said, "Oh, guy at gas station here told me to go up on this road there." He said, "Maybe some elk up there." And he says, "Could I go with you?" And I go, I like hunting by myself. And I said, "Sure, what can I say?"
Yeah.
He just got a shower and he fed me dinner, right? And so we went up and we drove up this road, and there was a sharp corner and there's a canyon right there. I stepped out and I blew in this call, and a bull instantly answered me. And he's going to look, he's wide-eyed and he's looking. And I wouldn't even show him the call because I wasn't planning on selling. The calls.
Top secret.
Yeah. And so I waited a little bit and called, and the bull answered again, and the wind was kind of iffy. I said, let's go on up the road a ways. And I can't imagine what Andy thought. You got a bull bugling right there, you want to drive off? So we drove up the road a little ways, circled around, got out and walked up in the woods a little ways, and I blew on the call, and a bull answered, a different bull. And we walked up a little further, where I get the wind on him a little bit, and I sent Andy up, just upwind a little bit. Anyway, make a long story short, I called this, I think it ended up scoring 312 bull in. And I told Andy, I said, if we get a bull coming in, don't move and let him come just as close to you as you can, because you can hit him a lot easier at 5 yards than you can at 50, you know? He said that bull walked up within 3 feet of him before he started his draw. And he shot him.
Man.
And he was telling me about this, and he's just trembling, you know, and he was smoking, and he was trying to get the cigarette out of his pocket, and he says, and he goes, 3 yards, I thought it was close enough. If you don't think I was scared, you're wrong. Oh, that was so great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's what calling's about. That's
Oh,
what
yeah.
makes it so exciting, is it just takes it to a whole nother level than
Yes.
just being out there wandering around hoping to cross paths with one.
And, you know, elk hunting's hard, as you well know, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it is. It's
It
probably
is.
well, it's physically challenging in most spots you go.
Yeah.
But it's
difficult.
and it's mentally challenging.
Yeah.
And they're just as wary of an animal as you'll ever hunt. But you might go 6 days and not even hear a call, but when you hear that answer, I mean, it's all worth it.
Fresh. Yep.
It's all worth it, whether you get them or not. So.
Have you noticed calling changing? Like since back then, were they easier to call in? Were they?
They were a
less
lot
wary?
easier. Yeah, it was really easy back then compared.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I mean, I'm sure you're like I am. We're better callers than we were several years ago,
For sure.
right? We know more about it. And I can get bulls to answer almost every day, not every day naturally, and sometimes multiple bulls depending on the area. But call them in to you is much more difficult.
Yeah.
They are well educated, and if you get the opportunity to go on private land or areas where it's hard to get a tag, you know, you can experience some of that. It's still not quite the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Were there predators back then like there are today? I feel today that a lot of the wariness from the elk comes from 365 days a year trying to survive just with all the predators.
Well, I think that's somewhat true, but I just think that when it comes to calling, they're more wary just because we've taught them to be,
Yeah.
you know, since they, you know, from the time they were a calf clear to adulthood, they've had some of this bugling stuff, and
They hear a bugle and they smell a human at the same
and
time.
they start, you know. But areas where there's lots of wolves, and you're starting to experience that all over. The wolves hear those bulls bugle, and they come in and chase them, and now the bulls become silent. They don't bugle like they used
It's a
to.
dinner bell when they bugle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just like brown bear on Kodiak Island, when you
Hear a
shoot a rifle,
gunshot.
here they come. So I just ran into this the other day. I was looking through some stuff, and there's a drawing of this part that's in here.
The original soundboard.
Yeah, that part there. And I'm not a draftsman. Okay.
That looks pretty good to me.
Well, I did that one pretty much by itself, and then there's instructions here. I didn't even know I had these. And then this one here is instructions for this call. Seemed like I had another drawing there, but maybe that's upstairs. This is my son Steve, and that's that first bull he shot in elk fever too, at about 5 yards. This is something that we used at the shows, and I guided for Roosevelt Elk for a few years. This is a elk fever 2 bull that he killed. Now the bull he killed in elk fever was his first elk, and then he kills a 6-point in elk fever too, and that's his second elk. so I don't take him anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Got the 2 out of the way. And
Yeah, and this is a hunt he went on all by himself. So, yeah. This is a bull I killed down in Arizona a few years ago, quite a few years ago now. Again, another photo of Steve and I in elk fever. And then there's some articles here. Here's a, you know Dwight's shoe.
Yeah.
Well, Dwight helped me by writing about our adventures and also photographs. This actually is me, and this is the Minam Valley right in there. So I, of course, didn't know he was going to put that on there, but so then he, of course, this is one of the Oregon Hunter magazines, and I was writing for them. I started writing in about the same time, you know, and at first I started writing and I sold my first articles. Well, actually I didn't sell them. Doug Walker, I just sent them to him. We had, I think it was 1978, Oregon opened up more areas and made the seasons longer, and we had an influx of people that weren't originally bow hunters. And we had a lot of problems with, you know, the public, and so I started writing, thinking that maybe I could help educate some people, but that was my intent. And my articles, I thought there was one here up front. I'm not a great writer. Back then I was a horrible writer, but some people seem to like what I do. Anyway, there was one in here called Hunting Tips, I think. Remember Bill Krenz?
Yeah.
He died. I don't know where it is in here. And then this is I think I was just doing a seminar. When I first started, I probably educated more hunters than I think almost anybody. Maybe Wayne Carlton did. You know, we was both competitors, but I did a seminar almost every weekend, sometimes 2 on the weekends for months.
Wow.
You know, until hunting season.
Yeah.
Somebody called me and say, "Could you come up September?" I laugh.
Yeah.
I just laugh out loud. You kidding?
I'm already booked for that week.
Yeah, so it's just another one. So anyway, just some of the stuff that I've been involved with. I've started writing, and nowadays I don't write as much.
So 1984 Bugle, that had to be one of the first.
Premier issue.
Yep.
Yeah. And I had a little column in there. Hunting tips. I wrote a lot of tips for also for archery organizations. That was part of my marketing too. So get the name familiarity, you know. So.
Yep. Were people hungry for information back then on hunting?
You know, people are hungry for hunting information today.
Totally.
Yeah. You know,
We used to have so many more platforms to deliver the information now.
yeah. Yeah, and you know, when I started, there was nobody.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say nobody I knew.
Yeah.
In fact, I didn't have a mentor as far as shooting the bow. And I think, I mean, if I would have had, I'd shoot better today, probably. But yeah, you're exactly right. And everything you would write would be sold. I mean, everything that, you know, cassettes and stuff, videos, they were hungry. They're still hungry for
Yeah.
it, you know. Yeah. Can't get enough. Just like me.
I know it. Once it gets in your blood, there's no getting rid of it.
I'll be 75 here in a month, and I can't wait until next elk season. If I can, I'll hunt every day of it. And I have a really, really sweet wife. She's puts up
with September.
So.
That's great. I saw something in here that caught my eye.
Oh yeah.
This must be from the early 80s, but there was a Martin Archery. I had that exact bow.
Oh, did you?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a whole bunch of magazines and stuff. And I'm not a collector, but I guess some of this stuff, actually my daughter had started putting some of the stuff away that I'd written. And there's a few articles that I wanted to, naturally. So I was digging through a box out there and I came upon these. So.
That's excellent. You have a favorite hunt that you've been on? Favorite memory of elk hunting?
Well,
that's a deep vault to dig into.
Yeah, it is. I think probably making the production elk fever is a constant memory because we hunted for 40 days. And back then we didn't carry these little cameras.
Big shoulder camera.
Yeah, I think the camera with a 4-pound block battery on it was 22 or 24 pounds. And then we had a 3/4 inch recording deck that went in the pack on the back. And then there was a cord that weighed probably a couple pounds, went from there to the camera. And we didn't have steady cams.
Yeah.
So
all handheld.
Well, hardly handheld anything because you just couldn't hold them steady. And I had a pretty good lens on it, but so ended up like Stephen. I made a pack that carried the camera. So Stephen carried the camera. The cameraman carried the deck and cables. I carried some batteries and cassettes, and somebody else carried the tripod. It was a 3 or 4 man job,
Yeah.
And some of it, like some of the stuff we did in Idaho on that hunt, it was just Dwight and I. We didn't have a cameraman; he had to go home. So that's a special memory because my son got his first elk, and I hear your son got his first elk
with a bow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that sweet?
It's he's spoiled. He's just that's
Oh,
the
yeah.
way to look at it.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
hunted a total of 4 days for elk, and he's killed 3 bulls.
Whoa!
And he killed his first bull, and it hadn't even hit the ground yet, more than 30 seconds, and he turned around and said, "That was great, but next time I want to do it with a bow."
Oh.
And so that's kind of been his focus for the last 2 seasons. We got out for a day last year, and he was at full draw 6 times on 6-point bulls in 24 hours.
Wow.
And great composure. He passed up a shot that he probably should have taken. And this year he was adamant he was going to shoot one with a bow or not at all. And only had 2 days to hunt.
Oh.
And I kept telling him, you don't understand. The average is 10 or 12%.
Yeah.
You've got 2 elk the last 2 years. The odds they're gonna crush you one of these days.
Yes, they are.
And you're wanting to do it with the bow, so now's the time they're gonna crush you. So we went out, couldn't find any elk in the area we got into elk last year. And we finally got one bull to respond, and we sat on him till 3:30 in the afternoon, and he just wasn't fired up. And I told him, we've got to find a bull that's fired up. We have 2 days. It's got to be a bull that's fired up. And so he made the decision to go where he shot his bull with a rifle last year, which is about a 3-hour drive. So that's eaten up most of our evening hunt. Well, we took off driving and got almost to where we were supposed to be going, and we were about out of daylight. And I said, let's just get out here, walk out the ridge, and if something answers, maybe it'll be close enough we can get a hunt in this evening before dark. And as his luck would have it, I let out a cow call, and before the cow call even echoed across the canyon, a bull answered in the bottom. And he was fired up, answered every time I made a chirp. I know anything I made, he answered
Wow.
it. And so I looked at him and said, "You ready to hustle?" And his eyes lit up, and he said, "Oh yeah." So we bailed off the mountain, went right to the bottom, and there was a meadow there, and we took a chance that they were going to the meadow right at dark, and got on a little knob, and the cow called, and the bull answered 150 yards away and screaming. So I sent him down, and I stayed back. So Isaac and the cameraman went ahead there, and you know, you sending a 13-year-old out there that's never set up on elk.
He can sit in the wrong spot, whatever.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch that can go wrong
yeah,
there.
you bet.
And I know more. I said, go down and sit by that tree on the edge of the meadow. So he went down there, and as soon as he got in place, I moved back and let out a cow call. And the second I let out a cow call, 4 cows came running out into the middle of the meadow. And I thought, man, it's now or never. Well, I thought he had about 100 yards out to the middle of the meadow. So I'm thinking to myself, I've got to pull these elk into the edge. And so I'm doing everything I can. And I hadn't bugled at that point. I'm just cow calling still. And pretty soon the bull, I can see him coming out real white body out in the middle of the meadow. And he bugles right out there. And so I laid into him with a bugle. And he hadn't heard a bugle yet to that point. And I saw him turn. He's coming right towards us. I thought, all right, he's going to get a shot. And then all of a sudden I see all the elk running. And I thought, they saw him move, he set up in the wrong spot, they winded him, something happened there. And they stopped for a second, and I hear thump, thump. And I thought, no, that's too far. You know, those elk are 100 yards out, there's no way he shot. And so they all take off running again, and my hunting partner, who's back up the hill a little bit, he starts cow calling frantically. And so I cow call and bugle a couple times. I pull up my binoculars, and there's all the cows, they're stopped looking, and I look, and there's the bull, and so I'm looking at him, and he's got a real goofy antler on one side and a spike on the other, and just, I'm kind of trying to figure out what's going on with his antlers there. And my eyes drift down behind his shoulder, and there's a big patch of blood right behind his shoulder. And I thought, you've got to be kidding me. That's one evening hunt, and we have 10 minutes of daylight. And so that bull came in, started coming around, and he was set up in a great place. When he got there, he pulled out his rangefinder, started ranging clumps of grass, so he knew the distance. And the bull came too far, it was 55 yards. And then it circled to come towards me and got behind a tree and winded him. And it whirled, and when it whirled, he drew and it stopped, saw the movement or something, stopped, and it stopped right on a clump of grass he had ranged. And on video, his shot is just rock solid, nothing moves, just follows through perfect, and that arrow just right behind the shoulder. The bull went 150 yards and was dead.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, it was pretty special to walk up there because he thought he'd missed it.
Oh.
I walked up to him, and he's like, I think I shot over it. I saw my arrow going up, and I think it went over. And he's like, I hope I didn't hit the cow that was behind it. There was a cow back there. And I said, no, I looked through the binoculars, and there's blood behind its shoulder. And as soon as I said that, he started freaking out a little bit. Are you serious? Are you serious?
Yeah, cool.
So it was neat to be right behind him as he walked up on it and saw it laying
You
there.
bet. Huh? I think I want to go hunting with you next year. It sounds like. I probably won't be able to go, boom, I'll be going like.
That's what I told him. I'm like, that was a better shot than I've ever made on an elk. And, we were blessed with some really neat experiences and encounters this year that
Cool.
we usually don't get. And having a camera crew tagging along, it
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
adds a lot of not pressure, but just
Well, it does add
extra-
pressure. It does add
extra
pressure.
challenge.
Yeah, yeah, more challenging.
So.
Life in the day of elk hunting.